You know, being indoors for so long has given me loads of time to think about some random stuff, like, what is life? You know, is anything we do actually worth it in the grand scheme of things? And, what's the lowest amount of bosses you need to defeat in order to beat the Calamity mod? And that's where this video came from. I first started to eliminate the obvious, like Wall of Flesh, Moonlord, and Supreme Calamitous. Wall of Flesh to get into hard mode, Moonlord to get to post Moonlord, duh, and Supreme Calamitous as the final boss. So, the count was at 3. Then I thought about the different summoning items for the bosses. So first, Wall of Flesh. Wall of Flesh needs the Voodoo Dolls, which you can get from the demons, normal enemies, so there's nothing to do with him. The Moonlord, you need to either make the sigil from the lunar fragments or kill the 4 pillars. So, Lunatic Cultist was added to the list. Supreme Calamitous is a different story. She needs the Eye of Extinction, and for that you need Auric Tesla bars, so immediately Yarum was added to the list as well. By the way, the Dragon Foley isn't required because in the new Rust and Dust update, they added the little Dragonic Swarmers as a mini-boss, and you can get the feathers from those. Thinking about Auric Tesla bars, I started to run into a few problems, mainly to do with how many ingredients they have, as you can see. And this is when bosses that needed to be added started to introduce themselves. The Auric Ore comes after defeating Yaron, and the Profaned Essence comes from normal enemies, so nothing else there. But unfortunately, there's been a new ingredient with the new Rust and Dust update, which means we'll have to add a few more bosses. This being the Ascended Spirit Essence, which is made with post-Devour of Gods items, so he is needed to be added to the list. But it doesn't matter because we will needed to add him anyway to make Draydon's workshop to make the Eye of Extinction out anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Thanks to the new Calamity Rust and Dust update, you don't have to kill the Sentinels of the Devourer to actually make the Cosmic Worm, so we won't need to add the Sentinels to the list. I know technically you fight the full-powered Sentinels that are kind of the original boss versions, but as they don't drop their individual boss items, we don't count them. Also, you may think that Phantoplasm, because it's required, you need to have the dungeon, but you'd be wrong, because there's something called the Overload Soldier. Now, the Overload Soldier is an enemy that spawns right after Moonlord is killed in the cavern layer, in pure caverns, that drops Phantoplasm, so the dungeon is not required, and neither is Poltergeist. The rest of the ingredients for the Auric Tesla bars are pretty easy to get, so that'd be it, right? Stop the counter where it is at. But you'd be wrong, because you need to make the Pumpkin Medallion and the Naughty Present to summon the moons to get their different essence. And for that, we're gonna need Ectoplasm. Once again, you may think that the dungeon is required for Ectoplasm, but fortunately for us, Eldeists spawn, I think that's how you say it, Eldeists spawn in the 3rd layer of the Abyss and actually drop Ectoplasm after Plantera is defeated. But because of this, unfortunately, Plantera will need to be added to the list. For the Pumpkin Medallion, pumpkins are also required, but the pumpkin seeds can only be acquired from the Dryad after killing the Eye of Cthulhu, Brain of Cthulhu / Eater of World, or Skeletron. But we found out a way that if you set your time to Halloween, pumpkins spawn naturally, so there's no need for any of those bosses to be killed. It also requires Hallowed Bars, and Hallowed Bars can unfortunately only be acquired from killing mechanical bosses, so one of them will have to be killed. But to choose which one, we'll have to look at the Naughty Presents crafting materials. As you can see from the Naughty Presents crafting materials, Souls of Frights are required to make it, and they drop from Skeletron Prime, so he'll be the one that we kill to get the hallowed bars. And with that, we are done. Now, some of you may be thinking that this is not possible and too difficult to complete, but as the time of recording this audio, a member of the Calamity Discord is attempting the run now. He's up to Ravager, and he says that it's going well. So, the 9 bosses that are required to beat the Calamity mod as of August 31st, 2020 are the Wall of Flesh, Plantera, Skeletron Prime, Ravager, Lunatic Cultist, Moonlord, Devour of Gods, Yaron, and Supreme Calamities. Oh, and by the way, the Lunatic Cultist can be summoned by tablets dropped by the Eldeists, so Golem isn't required. Sorry, just forgot to mention that. I'd like to thank the Calamity Discord for helping me with brainstorming about the 9 bosses. They helped me to go from 14 bosses down to 9. And I'd also like to specifically thank J Lizzie for being extremely helpful and giving this run an actual go. Thanks for watching. Please sub if you liked it, or don't. I just do these for fun anyway, it doesn't really matter. By the way, J Lizzie, the person who's giving this run a go, is gonna tell me when he's done, so we can talk about the run, how he found it, what were the hardest and easiest parts. Bye!